Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
Let's jag off.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
Okay, coming up this Sunday, November the 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in Duval, we have a great matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the visiting San Francisco 49er's. Very scary, right? I just want to get into a little bit of what's going on with the game before we get into the betting props or anything like that. We will build a parlay later here in this short episode. But Rob, first things first, we're just going to go over some of the basics right here. We're seeing Zay Jones back on the practice field running. Most of the other Jaguars are at full health. We haven't heard a ton about how Trevor's leg has been, but he managed to get through the game last week. So before the bye. So we're assuming he's going to be good with that extra rest. ETN is healthy. 49ers, we've seen them struggling, but now they're kind of back to full health. McCaffrey's back, Debo's back, and now they have Chase Young added to their defense. How do you see this game going down? You're going to be there in Duval at the stadium on Sunday. Give us a little bit of insight.
Yep, first and foremost, LGJ, let's go Jags. What I believe I'm going to see is a David versus Goliath-esque kind of story here. I mean, I still believe the Jaguars aren't getting the full respect after a 5-game win streak. What's fun about this game is we're seeing the only two teams in the NFL this year to win 5 straight, going head-to-head here. Now, albeit San Francisco is coming off a 3-game losing streak, that now they're at quote-unquote full health, so we better watch out, which I understand. I totally get that and whatnot, but I still think we have, and it's starting to show, one of the top offenses in all of football, and funny enough, this defense isn't letting up at all. So Brock Purdy's been turning over the ball lately. I think this is more pressure on him and San Francisco than it is the Jaguars. And I don't see why we should be underdogs in this game, man. Duval's going to show up. The fans are going to be pumped. It's a West Coast team, so F you. And again, bookend it with LGJ. Let's go Jags, man. I have all confidence in this team, and I'm ready for this team to just continue doing what they're already doing, just at a more precise pace.
For a little bit of perspective here, offensive rankings as of right now, the Dolphins are leading by far in average yards a game and by far in total touchdowns. The 49ers are ahead of the Jaguars, but the margin is a little misleading. So right now, on average, the 49ers are getting about 30 more yards a game on the offense than the Jaguars. When it comes to total touchdowns, 49ers only have 6 more than the Jaguars, a lot probably due to, McCaffrey goal line kind of stuff. And that's going to really be, I think, that's going to be the theme here. Is Trevor Lawrence finally going to break through? Are we going to see a better offense here? Not just let's run the ball on first down with ETN, try to throw a quick screen or a fast route on 2nd and 5, and then here it is 3rd and 1 like it always is, and then they try to throw the ball and miss completely, or we just rely on ETN that whole time until we get to the very end of the field, in which we will then pump ETN into the goal line. That's going to be the question for both teams. Can Purdy get the ball down the field on a top 10 defense? And can the Jaguars move the ball on a stout 49ers defense? I'm thinking this is going to be a lower scoring game. And my prediction here would probably be something like 17-13. Could go either way. But obviously, being the homer right now on the streak the Jags are on, and legitimately, the way the 49ers have looked as of late, the way Purdy's looked worse than Trevor, I'd have to say the Jaguars take this one. So I'm going to be pulling for that 17-13 Jaguars. I think it's going to honestly come down a lot to, is the play calling on point for the quarterbacks in these games? Because I'm seeing at this point both teams are trending towards, hey, this shit's not working out. Let's just pump it in to the running back's hands all game long. And as long as ETN and McCaffrey can stay durable enough all season to withstand that, it's going to work to some extent. But you're going to be flipping a coin on Sunday unless you can get your offense going through the air as well.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't even shock me if both teams lean heavily on the run early on to try to wear out each other's defenses. And it is. I think it's going to be a knockout, drag-out kind of game. And I think it probably has the chance to be the game of the week. Like, I think it's going to be all eyes on both these teams. And I do, man. You know, I've been pulling, of course, for every single game. But, man, this is yet another huge game. I mean, the Jaguars every game just seems so crucial after starting 1 and 2. And, man, for us to suddenly, in the blink of an eye, be 6-2, looking at the potential of 7-2 and just already running away with the division, I mean, I love what we're seeing, man. I really, really do.
Yeah, and also remember, early loss came from the Chiefs, but we took care of the Bills. It's not like we're just running through the scrubs. Houston was an accident, but now we're starting to see maybe C.J. Stroud is going to be a legitimate player in this this league and turn that team around. And they're in our division. We could be rivals for a while. We're going to have to play them again and find out. But I'm not so scared of the Bengals on Monday night this year anymore, and I do have a lot of faith in the Jaguars going forward. But I have to see that turnaround, that mentality, the philosophy on the field. I really like what the Chiefs do with their offense. And I feel like the Jaguars have a chance to do that, and we don't. And it's I don't know if it's just that East Coast mentality or whatever it is, but we don't seem to be the powerhouse I expected us to be. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, anybody who heard about those fantasy trades, you'd probably think I was the most atrocious advisor on this subject, and sometimes I am. But this is a question I have for you, Rob. At this point, do you see a fantasy turnaround for Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, etc.?
Yeah, because it's still, the Calvin Ridley T-Law experiment. I mean, after going 3-0 in the preseason, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, this." I figured it was like, well, we got to see it against stiffer competition, but in the same regard, I don't see why it wouldn't work out. The only thing I'll say about Calvin Ridley that I'm starting to notice is when he doesn't get the ball early, he kind of seems like he just is not running his routes at 100%. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah, he loses concentration or something.
Yeah, like, I don't know what it is, but
it doesn't
I'm
quite
hoping,
seem like George Pickens' demotivation, but something's going on there.
Something's going on big time. And, hopefully he snaps out of it. Hopefully it just, again, with us picking up Ezra, the O-lineman out of Minnesota before the trade deadline, hopefully he gives us a couple, X amount of seconds for T-Law to stand up and see Ridley blowing away a cornerback. Again, we really still haven't seen that, and that's simply because everybody's ripping on T-Law about it. It's like, no, the offensive line is not doing their job. Now, has T-Law had a couple bummer plays this year? Yes, he is a quarterback.
Passes, but you got to protect him.
But for the most part, he's getting the job done. And then again, guys, and I'm calling out all Jacksonville fans here, we're 6-2. We're leading the division. Like, we're doing fine. And I'm excited about it. So we should all be collectively excited. And I think it's only up from here. I think we have the firepower. I know we're like, hey, San Francisco's fully healthy. They should be back to their winning ways. Let's not ignore the fact that the Jags are on their winning way. So, it's a great game. This is a lot of fun. There's a huge narrative in this game. Are the Jaguars going to continue looking like the juggernaut that they've become? Or now is Mr. Irrelevant truly becoming Mr. Irrelevant?
Right, yeah, and I agree. It's going to be a fun game. And again, like you said, a crucial game. I think that's the fun part about this season is we're rising to the challenge. Here's where I'm at. We are not exceeding my expectations, but we're meeting them. And I knew we should be leading this division, and we're doing it.
Yes.
So you can't say it's a total disappointment. Although from a fantasy perspective, I kind of fucked my team. The Jaguars are still my NFL team. So in the real world, I am happy to see what's going on. I would like to see Trevor continue to develop. Final score prediction from you before we go to the gambling aspect of this game.
Yeah, this is just my heart is telling me something to the effect of like a 24-21 Jaguars win. I think it's going to be a nail-biter. LGJ. Let's go, Jags. Let's jag off.
Nice. And I think it's going to be 17-13. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. We're probably going to see a TD from ETN, a TD from McCaffrey. I think Purdy's going to struggle a little bit more than Lawrence. And obviously, with a bolstered offensive line, Chase Young might not be as scary to the protection of Trevor as we thought. So that's what I'll go with. Moving on to BetMGM's current booking odds for the game. We got the Jaguars coming in as underdogs at plus 145 and the 49ers as favorites at negative 175. Over-under set at 44.5, and we got the spread at negative 2.5 for the 49ers, obviously plus 2.5 for the Jaguars to cover those spreads. What I'm thinking here is I'm going to try and put together like a real quick parlay in which I don't choose any money line, meaning I'm not going to pick the Jaguars. I'm not going to pick the 49ers. What we are going to try and figure out is who's going to get the yards here. So I'm going to say let's start with Trevor Lawrence and Purdy. So we're just going to make this real simple. We're going to do the parlay based on Trevor Lawrence's yards, Purdy's yards or stats, and we're going to do it with McCaffrey and ETN as well. Trevor Lawrence, we could do some props for 200-plus passing yards. Do you think he's going to be able to pull off even 200 as the lowest amount of yards he could get in this game?
I do, yes.
You think he can pull off 200 against 49ers?
Yes, I do.
And that's the minimum we can take. Now, you could take an under. We could go up to 300 yards and do an under. We're going to take the over on 200 passing yards. So Trevor Lawrence, like you said, your hope here is you're going to wear down the defense a little bit early. Then we can start airing it out. Brock Purdy, do you think he's going to hit 200 yards passing?
No.
225, obviously no. 250, no. So in these situations, guys, what I really do recommend is you switch to a under format. And if you don't think Purdy's going to hit 200, the safest thing to do to kind of round out the
250.
odds is maybe do an under, 249.5 if
Yeah,
that's
that's what I was
available or something like that. So I'm going to look through here real quick at some of these
Yeah, I feel
options.
safer at the 250.
And we could do an under 299.5. Now, obviously, that's not going to bolster the odds crazy, but right now we've got it with those two picks, negative 135. So we have Trevor Lawrence going over 200, Brock Purdy going under 299.5. So player rushing yards. Think McCaffrey gets over 54.5?
Yes.
Think he gets over 64.5?
Yes.
And this is just rushing, not passing.
Right.
So let's talk about something else. If that's the case, I want to ask you this question then. Does McCaffrey have 85 total yards in this game between receiving and rushing?
I would say yes.
And I agree. So, I think that's a safe leg to add, is McCaffrey getting 85 total yards. So now we just push the odds to 135, which means you can make a little bit of a better, bottom line profit on it. Travis Etienne, do you think he gets over 50 rushing yards?
Yes, I do.
Do you think he scores?
Yes, I do.
Scoring is going to bolster the odds way higher. Obviously, that's what you're going to be banking on as you see him get in the end zone at some point. We could go Travis Etienne over 50, which would give us odds of 225. Or we could say that Travis Etienne scores at some point during this game for plus 350.
I say he scores at some point in the game.
And I like that because that gives us a little bit more of
a little more of a leeway.
Yeah, a little bit more leeway. So what I'm going to do is I'll put 5 on that. That wins you 22.50. We're going Trevor Lawrence 200 passing yards or more. Brock Purdy under 299.5 passing yards. McCaffrey total receiving and rushing yards 85 or more. And Travis Etienne will score anytime for a 4-leg parlay of plus 350. So we're going to do $5, win $22.50. We'll see if that hits. And we're going to be enjoying the game this Sunday. Any final thoughts, Rob?
Let's go Jags. LGJ, let's jag off. Let's win 6 straight.
I'm going to come.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan. Fantasy R&R.